On this episode of the Spartan Sports Talk Show, we're joined by Kaleb Newton and Joe Henschel, and we'll be discussing the 2019-2020 NBA season. Spartan Sports Talk Show is up next. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the third episode of the Spartan Sports Talk Show. And this one's actually going to be cut up into two pieces. This will be the NBA preview one, and then there will be a part two with the NFL and the MLB discussing the postseason. But today we're joined with Kaleb Newton and Joe Henschel. How are you boys doing today?
Good. Thanks for having us on, Mile. Thank you. I really appreciate it. I'm excited.
So not only are you guys making your debuts today, but also are the mugs and then the new logo we got. Yeah. Jared is not here. He's a basketball player. He got sick and told me ahead of time he could not make it, but his picks are on, and I'll be trying to do him justice with his picks. So let's get the show on the road with the first award, the Coach of the Year candidates. As you see the long list there, some of the big names out there are Doc Rivers from the Clippers, Vogel with the Lakers, McMillan the Pacers, and Gentry with the Pelicans, Kerr with the Warriors, and Nick Nurse with the Raptors. I have to ask you guys, who'd you go with your first choice?
First choice, kind of surprising. I went with Steve Kerr here because I just think that everybody's going to count him out right away. Without Kevin Durant, I don't think anybody's going to count him in for the race. I've heard people even say that they count him out of the playoffs, and I think Kerr is too smart to not have them in the playoffs and compete to go to the next round. So I had Kerr as my choice.
And I picked Frank Vogel because he got a lot of good picks. Anthony Davis came to the roster. He still has LeBron and JaVale McGee and Rondo. I just feel like he's just going to coach that team. Just with all the experience between all the players, he's just going to coach a pretty good team.
All right, so the winner of the first ever Spartan Sports Talk Show NBA preseason is Doc Rivers of the Los Angeles Clippers. He led the way with 9 points, and then Nate McMillan tied with Frank Vogel with 5, and Steve Kerr, because of Henschel's vote, got 3 points in third place. So I went with Nate McMillan because last year he had a good year. Obviously, he got the Pacers to playoffs as a 4 seed, if I remember correctly. Yep. I know he was a 4 or 5, and they lost to the Celtics, but they had no Vic, and they still were winning. Mm-hmm. And the team went out, and they got Brogdon from the Bucks. They went out, and they got T.J. Warren from the Suns, and then they signed Jeremy Lamb from the Hornets. So I think they have a good team coming in, and I think that he could shock a lot of guys. And I obviously love Doc Rivers, and then Quinn Snyder for the Jazz is a great coach. He somehow was able to get him to the playoffs a couple years ago after losing their star player Gordon Hayward and using Donovan Mitchell. Newton, so I have to ask, why'd you go with Frank Vogel again? I know you explained it. I have to ask again, Frank Vogel, why? You think he can use LeBron and Anthony Davis the best of his ability?
Yes, because LeBron, one of the greatest players of all time. Yeah, Anthony Davis. He didn't play much last year, but like he's still really good. He's still a really good player. He's on the cover of 2K, so.
The thing about Vogel is I feel like even if they have a good season, they're not going to be like, well, Vogel did that. The criticism with LeBron is always that he's the coach of the team wherever he goes. So even if they have a good season, they gel well, it's probably going to be all directed towards LeBron, like LeBron caused all this success, whereas all the other coaches, they actually have to do coaching on their team, whereas LeBron, we all know that he's kind of the coach on the court. So
yeah, I can see that, but like since people think LeBron's coach of the court, I just feel like LeBron will help Frank in that aspect a little bit.
Yeah. And then with Jared, he picked Doc Rivers, and I read it over before I came here. He chose them because of their defense. He really likes Patrick Beverley, Kawhi Leonard, and Paul George, and then Montrezl Harrell coming off the bench. He thinks with that defensive core, they can really help the Clippers in a very offensive-minded NBA, especially in the Western Conference. Yeah. The Clippers were up there as one of the better defenses. It's just the numbers fluctuated because they had to play the Warriors all the time. They had to play the Kings. They were really good in transition. And then the Lakers, who obviously have LeBron James, as Newton said, one of the best players of all time. So I have to ask you boys, do you think Doc Rivers deserves to win the very first ever Spartan Sports Talk Show Coach of the Year?
I do. I had him as a close second in mine. It was either Kerr or him. I went back and forth. I ended with Kerr just because I don't know. I just feel like he could pull something off with the Warriors. But I do agree with Jared in that I think this could be one of the best defenses we have seen in a long time, especially since it's such an offensive-minded league now. I think Rivers, being the coach that he is, the experience that he has, and the defensive player that he has now, could turn this into one of the best defensive we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with all you guys. I put him at my second, and
Yeah, I only put him second because he has stars on his team, and I feel like McMillan has to use his players to the best of his ability.
Yeah.
Especially with Brogdon, he always battles with injuries. So we're moving on to the next award, the most improved player candidates. You see some big names on this one with De'Aaron Fox, Ben Simmons, Markelle Fultz, who's first year with Orlando, Terry Rozier, Kristaps Porzingis, Ricky Rubio, Gordon Hayward, and Lonzo Ball. And I already told you guys that this one ended up in a tie, so I have to ask, what two players do you think tied for first place?
Who do I think tied for first place? I bet if I had to look at that list and try to think of what you guys chose, I would say Lonzo and Kristaps, I bet.
Okay.
Is who I think that other people chose to put it first.
yeah, I would probably thinking Lonzo and Kristaps, just as you guys said.
All right, so the first ever Spartan Sports Talk Show most improved player. I'm sorry. It's actually, they were right. It was Kristaps Porzingis and Lonzo Ball tied up at 6 points. Gordon Hayward got 4, and because of my vote, Markelle got 3rd. So for you, Henschel, you put Gordon Hayward as number 1. Why'd you put the Boston Celtics star right there?
You look at the seat. It's called Comeback Player of the Year, right? Most Improved Player of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, same thing. Look at his season last year, and then you look at previous seasons he's had. He's too much of a baller not to keep playing the way he did last year. So watch out for Gordon Hayward. He's going to play well with Kemba. Watch out for him. He's going to come out this year for the Celtics, and they need him. So that's why I put him number 1.
I put Kristaps because before he had the injury, he was playing really well. I don't know what the stats he was actually going.
So I have to ask you, Newton. I hate to
what's on?
interrupt you, but do you think Kristaps and Luka Doncic are be able to work together in Dallas?
Maybe a little bit. I don't. They might have pretty good team chemistry just because I feel like Luka will be looking more to like pass, and because he has another star on his team, so he doesn't have to do it all by himself.
I want to say something about that.
All right.
I think that pick and pop is going to be lethal. I don't think people are going to be able to defend that at all because you're going to have Kristaps will set a screen for him, and if one of those players is going to have to go cover Kristaps, and somebody will be open. So if he that pick and pop is going to be lethal because both of them can shoot. So I think they'll work together really well.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think that Kristaps and Luka Doncic are going to be very dangerous. Obviously, as Henschel said, the pick and pop is going to be great, and the Luka Doncic is probably one of the best step backs in the game. I think one of the best step backs we've seen since D Wade was doing it in his prime in Miami. It's going to be dangerous in Dallas. They're going to hit a lot of 3-pointers, be able to get some good buckets. But I picked Markelle to go the win because obviously this guy was gone through a lot since he entered the league just a handful of years ago. He got the shoulder injury, which no one's ever heard of before. I forgot what it's even called.
Yeah,
it was a nerve. But he's looked really good with Orlando. He stepped up in the preseason. His jump shot looks a lot better than it once did. He doesn't look like he's in pain every time he shoots the ball. Yeah. But I think he's going to step up this year and live up to what his expectations were when he was drafted first overall by Philly out of Washington. The guy averaged over 23 points a game while he was at Washington. You're telling me that if he gets back to 110%, he's not going to be lethal and dangerous with the Orlando Magic, a team that made the playoffs last year without like a big star. Like they went out and they re-signed Terrence Ross, one of the best 3-and-D guys, and Nikolai Vucevic, who's adding a 3-point shot. And don't forget that they also have Mohamed Bamba and Jonathan Isaac. Yeah, and Aaron Gordon. I forget about Aaron Gordon. They have a nice young core, but it's the Orlando Magic. They really have a fan base, so they're kind of getting overlooked at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. I could see Fultz stepping into that role. It's kind of a perfect role for him if you look at it. If one of the beliefs I always have is change of scenery is huge. So him going to an Orlando Magic team that doesn't have as much it's not like an LA Lakers or a team that everybody's looking at. So he doesn't have that automatic pressure of, I need to go drop 30 points a game. So he's going to go out there, and I could see your point of being able to play and be most improved player of the year.
So now I have to ask, since you're saying that, the change of scenery, the guy that's right below Kristaps got a change of scenery from a big market team with the Los Angeles Lakers, second overall pick from the area, wanted to go with the team. Now he's getting traded to the Pelicans. He's going to play in a very fast offense with Alvin Gentry. Do you think that's why Lonzo is up there in these voting for us? And for most NBA experts, that Lonzo can get back to his UCLA style with the new jumper he has. He's looked a lot smoother. The one day he was in a 3-point contest with J.J. Redick, who's one of the best swingmen that we've seen in recent history. Can Lonzo Ball change back to what he was before he got to the Lakers and before he started doing that really weird jump shot that no one knew what to do?
That's exactly why I put him as my number 2, because like I said, change of scenery is huge, and I think he's not in L.A. where everybody's like, oh, Showtime Lakers, Lonzo, all eyes are on him. His dad was screwing him over, and now he's kind of on his own. He's his own man. He's become his own man. He's in a smaller marketplace. He's going to be something special for this offense, and I don't think he's going to be a big 25-point scorer, but he will be a great facilitator for that offense, and they could do something special. New Orleans can. I can see him do something special if everybody's healthy. So
Yeah, Lonzo Ball, including Zion with Lonzo, I feel like he's just going to facilitate getting passing, getting everyone open shots, and driver of he is.
Yeah, I think there'll be a new lob city in the NBA, and it's going to be located in New Orleans, Louisiana. And that's also why Jared picked Lonzo Ball to go first, because he believes the change of scenery is really going to help him. So we're going to move on to the next award, the Sixth Man of the Year. And you have Lou Williams from the Clippers, the defending Sixth Man of the Year. Eric Gordon from the Rockets, who won it 2 years ago. Derrick Rose, who's new to the list. Domantas Sabonis from the Pacers, and Spencer Dinwiddie from the Nets. And I'm going to let you guys know, everyone picked the same 3 people, but just in different order. And your winner, Lou Williams, winning his third Sixth Man of the Year in 4 seasons. And you saw he got 3 first-place votes. Derrick Rose and Eric Gordon were the other 2. Derrick Rose got 8 points, and then Eric Gordon got 6 points. So do you guys think these 3 are going to step up? Well, I have to ask, importantly, to the guy wearing the Bulls jersey,
I meant to put Rose first. I typed mine in. Rose is supposed to be first, so that's my bad. But Rose, bro, I can't go against him. He's my boy. So that dude has so much determination that he does not fail at what he does. If he's a 6th man, he's going to go out there and be like, I want to be the best 6th man in the league. That's just who Derrick Rose is, and I do not go against him. So,
I put Derrick Rose as first just because I feel like what an incredible season he had last year. That's just going to transfer to his 6-man job that what he has this year.
Right, I agree with that. I mean, especially because I know me and Joe talk about this all the time at lunch, because obviously we grew up in that Bulls era where Derrick Rose won the MVP in 2011, youngest MVP of all time. He has the ability to be one of the best point guards in the league. It's just injuries derailed his career. And he had a great season, like you said, in Minnesota last year with the injuries of Jeff Teague was constantly in and out of the lineup. But guess who, another point guard that had the same problem? Reggie Jackson. So that means that Derrick Rose may get pushed to the starting role job, and that's why Lou Williams is so dangerous. This is a guy that averaged 20 points last year. And if you remember, he was lethal against the Golden State Warriors in the first round of the playoffs and took them to a Game 6. People were shocked by this. They thought Golden State was going to run right through the Clippers, but the Clippers have a lot of heart. That's because of that man right there. He's the heart and soul of the team and by far their leader. So obviously, Joe, I need to ask, how good of a chance does Derrick Rose actually have to win the Sixth Man of the Year?
I think he has a good shot. I do. I hope he doesn't get overlooked, because everybody loves Lou Williams. I mean, everybody talks about him. Like, he's always on ESPN, 6th Man of the Year. But I just hope Derrick doesn't get overlooked, because if you watch, it just brings me back some of the flashes of that 50-point game he had last year, the up and unders under the rim. Like, that's what I used to do in my front yard, trying to do that spin move off the glass and stuff. It's like, God, like, it just brings me back. And if he can emulate what he did last season again this year, he's got a real shot. I can think he can be really special for the Pistons.
All right, and also I like what Jared said about Lou Williams. He called him a killer when he's on the court. He likes to get some buckets, and that's exactly what Lou Williams is going to do with a very good Los Angeles Clippers team heading into this season. So moving on to our next award, Rookie of the Year. You had some big names also on here: Zion Williamson, R.J. Barrett, John Morant, Cam Reddish, Tyler Hero, and Darius Garland. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the first unanimous victory on the Spartan Sports Talk Show NBA preview. It's Zion himself.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, exactly. He got the sweep of 12 points. RJ got second with 6, and then John Morant got 4 points. Guys, I have to ask, how easy was it for you to put Zion's name by the number 1 on this list? I'll start with you, Newton.
It was about like that. It was too easy. In the preseason, before he got hurt, he was averaging 23.3 points with 6.5 rebounds and shooting 71%. Like, how can you not, like, for a rookie, how can you not pick him?
It was easy for me because I think he's going to be the number 1 option on that team. But there was one guy, I know, I'm a Bulls fan, that wasn't on the list, and that's Kobe White. And I'm telling you, watch out for him because you have names like, okay, you look at Zion, RJ, and Ja, okay? They're probably going to be one of the number 1 options on those teams. Maybe excluding Ja because they do have Jaren Jackson and a couple other options that have been there.
And they got him back.
Yeah, so you do have a couple other options, but I do think that Kobe can just be a huge contributor to the Bulls team. Like they released the final stats. I think Zion finished with about 23 points per game in the preseason. And right behind him at 19.4 points was Kobe White, and he got picked in the 7th slot. So the Bulls have had some luck at that 7th spot in the past 3 years. I mean, it looks bad, and it's like, oh, God, we got the 7th pick again. But then you look at the picks we gotten with the 7th pick. Lowry, Wendell, and Kobe. 3 steals in the past 7 picks. Watch out for Kobe White this year. I'm telling you.
Well, not only did the Bulls also get all 3 of those guys at the 7th spot, you also kind of count Zach LaVine at the 7th spot for trading Jimmy Butler to get him and Lowry at that same time.
Yeah.
So I picked Tyler Hero as my 3rd because he's went off in the summer league. He looked really good. It looks like he's going to be a good swing man for the Miami Heat on a team that doesn't really have a lot of stars except for maybe Jimmy Butler and Goran Dragic. They traded Hassan Whiteside to Portland over the summer.
They have Deion Waiters, but that's the only really other scorer.
Right, so I think Hero's going to step into a bigger role. And I hate to say, even though I put Zion as my number 1, I truly believe R.J. Barrett's going to win it. But I have to go with Zion. It's like you have to go with Zion. Yeah. Like as an analyzer or Zion, but your heart's like it's R.J. Because here's my issue with Zion. He's 285 pounds, and he's going to be playing a longer season. He's never played a season like this. 48-minute games for 82 games, and he's going to be traveling a lot. He's already had knee soreness. We're not even out of the preseason yet. Yeah. He's too big for the NBA.
He should be an NFL player.
He should be an NFL linebacker. It's a shorter season. But that's the problem. He already has a knee soreness. He missed the last preseason game, and he's going to miss several weeks. He's not going to be playing Tuesday against, I believe they're playing Houston on Tuesday in the opening game of the year. So they're already missing their star player for that game.
Yeah, and not to mention in college, he had his knee injury too.
Right, but that wasn't because of him jumping. His shoe blew out. That was different. I watched that game against UNC. But I honestly think we're going to have the same case. He's going to have Anthony Davis syndrome, where he's going to miss majority of his rookie year with injury. And then we're going to see another star rise up. And that star that rose up when Anthony Davis was injured was a guy by the name Damian Lillard. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He's kind of a killer in the NBA. He's destroyed 2 teams, the Houston Rockets and then the OKC Thunder last year. But I believe R.J. Barrett has a very good chance of winning if Zion can't stay healthy. If Zion stays healthy, he's going to be lethal. But I do have to ask you guys this question because it's been bothering me. Does Zion Williamson need a 3-point shot to be a legit star in the NBA?
I think over the years he's going to have to develop one because teams are going to start to be able to figure out how to defend him. So obviously you see in the first few games he dropped 29 and everybody's like, oh, well, he doesn't need a 3-point shot because he can drive on anybody because he's so big. Well, you're going to start coaches in the NBA aren't dumb. They can figure out stuff. You're going to figure out zones on how to guard that. And then that's going to be cut off, and then he's going to be like, oh, well, I can't shoot now. And you're going to have to develop a jump shot, just like Giannis. I mean, Giannis is on a different level, but he needs to I don't think he's the best player in the NBA. I don't, because to be the best player in the NBA, you have to have you need to be the best overall player. And if you can't shoot, that's one of the tangibles in basketball. So he's going to have to develop one to play in the league for a long time. So
Yeah, I agree with that totally. Over the years, you have to develop a three-point shot. Just coaches are just going to know what to do against you.
The only problem, I agree, I have to disagree with you guys. Honestly, if you're scoring over 20 points, and you're shooting over 70% like Zion was in the preseason, why do you need to shoot behind the arc? That's only going to decrease your shooting percentage. Zion,
only 2 games.
yeah,
That's a sample
that's
size.
true. It's true. But I believe truly, like you guys said, Zion should just be able to attack the rim at a very early age where he still has the hops that he does. And out of his youth, he's only, 21 years old heading into the season.
Yeah.
He's basically our age. I think you and Zion are the same age, Joe.
I'm 20.
20?
Almost 21.
Okay. So we're getting there.
Yeah, we're
But
getting there.
I truly believe Zion is going to, like you guys say, he's going to develop one eventually, but for maybe the first 5 years, he's not going to need it. Like with Giannis, he didn't need one. He still doesn't need one because he's listed at, 6'9" now without shoes, what that's all about. But that guy's a monster, and he has one of the best wingspans in the NBA. So moving on to the next award, the Defensive Player of the Year awards. So the names on here are the Utah Jazz. He's the defending Defensive Player of the Year, Rudy Gobert, Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, Draymond Green, Patrick Beverley, Marcus Smart, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. Yes, I practice that name constantly in the mirror. And you're a winner. Very close. Patrick Beverley, 7 points. And then a tie for second place between Rudy Gobert and Anthony Davis. And then third place with a tie between Kawhi Leonard and Draymond Green. So, Joe, I have to ask, why do you like Patrick Beverley winning the award?
I like it because, like I mentioned earlier, I think this defense has a chance to be one of the best since, I'm going to bring up the Bulls again, since the Jordan, Pippen, Rodman era. I just think people feed off of each other. Like, if you've ever played sports, you feed off your teammates. And I think with Pat Beverley, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and if you want to include Montrez, but I'm just going to say that big three right there, they're gonna be like, Pat will be like, I'm gonna go out and get 3 steals this game, and Kawhi will be like, no, I'm gonna get 3 steals, 4 steals, and they're just gonna compete against each other. And I just think I chose Pat over Kawhi, but you could go with either one of them. I think they're both gonna have phenomenal defensive years with all 3 of those dudes. I think you even put Paul George up there for that award too. So
Yeah, with Patrick Beverley, he stopped one of the most explosive point guards in the league, Russell Westbrook. He stopped him, so I feel like if he can stop him, he can stop about anybody in the league, so that's why.
Well, let's not forget, it was Lonzo's, second game in the NBA against the Clippers, and he, basically rattled the crap out of Lonzo. He didn't know what to do. Patrick Beverley shut him down. I think it was because of LeVar said something about Patrick Beverley or something, and Beverley I've never seen anything like it. I've never seen a player shut down that bad before in Lonzo. But you guys make me feel bad. I've been a Clippers fan since Blake Griffin was there, and I only put Patrick Beverley as third. I feel bad, but because I picked Anthony Davis because he said at the very beginning of the year, he's like, I'm going to win the Defensive Player of the Year award. And if you guys remember when he was at Kentucky, nothing had passed him at the rim.
No.
Nothing. So I feel as though if Anthony Davis can activate his inner Mamba mentality, good luck to anyone that's driving the lane on Anthony Davis if he can stay healthy. That's the only thing. If he can stay healthy, no doubt in my mind, he can win this award. And he's going to have a block party down low at the Staples Center. Yeah. And everyone's invited. Every single ball's invited.
You're not invited. Get out of here, boy.
Exactly. I feel like, and then I got Draymond. I'm surprised Draymond didn't get more votes. With no Klay Thompson, one of the better defenders in the NBA, not being available this year, Draymond's going to have to play a lot more defense than he's used to.
Yeah.
And then I put Beverly third. But Jared also put Beverly at first, and he had Rudy Gobert second, Miles Turner third. He had Miles Turner. I like that one. I think a lot of people forget about him in Indiana.
Yeah.
Other than that, we are one award away, and that's the MVP, Most Valuable Player. You see the former MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo. You have LeBron James on there. James Harden, who won it 2 years ago, got second last year. Kawhi Leonard, 2-time Finals MVP. Steph Curry, and Nikola Jokic. All right, can I have a drum roll? Can you do me a drum roll, please? And your first ever Spartan Sports Talk Show MVP is Giannis Antetokounmpo. No shocker here for me. I put him at first. I put James Harden second and Kawhi Leonard third. I thought that was a pretty solid list. Giannis had 11 points. James Harden second place again with 7. And Steph Curry, because of one first place vote from Jared, got third place.
Why did Jared put Steph at?
Because he said because of no KD being gone and then Klay Thompson's going to be out all year long, that Steph Curry's going to have to be back in that role he was before KD got there. He's going to have to take a lot more shots. He's going to have to step up for his team. He's going to score a lot more points than he's used to. He's not going to have to dish the ball as often. So I agree with that. That's a pretty solid pick.
Pretty solid.
So other than that, all three of us put Giannis at number 1. Actually, me and Newton have the same list, but Henschel, Nikola Jokic, why'd you put a big man in a small man's world that's now the NBA?
He doesn't get enough credit. He has a jump shot. He can shoot threes. It's a small man's game, but big men can shoot threes too, and he can shoot threes. He can have how many triple doubles did the dude have last year?
He had a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
had a lot.
the dude is okay. You may not be like, he's not the one that you go and buy the jersey of, and you don't see him in the top 10 jersey sales, but he needs to get credit. Like, he is one of the best players in the NBA, and most valuable player is the most valuable player on that team, and he is the most valuable player on that team, and you put him on most teams, and he's the most valuable player because he can do everything.
So, Newton, I have to ask, since we all agreed on this, why is Giannis such a dominant force in this NBA, and why did we all pick Antetokounmpo to win his second straight MVP?
Just because, not many people can stop him while driving to score, and he's developing his 3-point shot, so he's getting even better than he was, and his Euro step dunk, I've never heard anyone stopping that. So
I do like you guys putting Kawhi on your list. I should have put him on mine, but I do think Kawhi is the best overall player in the NBA. He can shoot, he can drive, he can create his own shot, and he can play great defense. So, I mean, he should be considered in that list too. So,
yeah, Kawhi the other day had 4 steals. I don't remember who they were playing when he did. I think it was Denver, if I stand corrected. He had 4 steals. But here's what I wrote for Giannis. I said he averaged 27.7 points last year, 12.5 assists, and 12.5 rebounds and 5.9 assists with 1.5 blocks and 1.3 steals. So he's doing a lot. Also, the Bucks lost Malcolm Brogdon to the Pacers, as we had mentioned earlier on in the show. So right now the core for the Bucks is Giannis, Eric Bledsoe, and Chris Middleton, who they went out and gave a big contract. A lot of people were shocked by, but you have to try and keep Giannis in Milwaukee. His contract's ending at the end of this season, but he's also he's mad. Did you guys see him after they lost to Toronto in the Eastern Conference Finals? I've never seen a face like that unless it was with Kobe. Yeah. He was frustrated. He hated how the season ended. I think Giannis has one thing in mind, and that's not only walking away with his second MVP, that's walking away with the Larry O'Brien trophy.
He said that he'd rather have the other trophy than he doesn't care about the MVP.
I don't think anyone does, but
he wants that finals trophy.
No one can stop this man, as Newton said. He's an unstoppable force. And I have to disagree with you on this, Henschel. I believe Giannis is the best player in the world. But
basketball, I said Kawhi is the best basketball player.
Okay.
Bring up Giannis's three-point percentage.
Okay.
Overall basketball player, unstoppable force, Giannis. But overall basketball player, Kawhi, just because he can shoot.
But I do have something very interesting to mention. Where is LeBron James on this list? Where is the king? Why did we not include him? Why didn't anyone vote for LeBron James?
I think those other players are better. I do. I just I think Giannis is, I don't know. I just do. I mean, LeBron is LeBron, but I just think these offenses are going to go through these guys to where the Lakers their offense could go through AD now too. Whereas you look at each one of these guys, the offense has to go through Giannis. The offense, it's going to go better going through James Harden than it is Russ, I feel like. And for me, the offense runs through Jokic too. So that's why but for LeBron, the offense AD's a good passing big guy. The offense could run through him. You've seen it already in the preseason games, the passes he's making. He could bring it up court if he wanted, but I just think that an offense is going to run through these guys, and they're going to be more valuable to their teams. So
Yeah, LeBron, he's one of the best players in the world, but all these people up here are all younger than him,
That's true.
and so they have a lot more years. And I just feel like he's not as young and LeBron's not as young and explosive as he used to be.
So the Spartan Sports Talk Show, this includes LeBron James on their first ballot. Hopefully, it does not come back to bite us in the butt at the end of the season. Hopefully, LeBron doesn't listen to this one because we'll be getting a phone call from the king himself.
if he calls me, then
We may have to get an autograph.
I'll be like, okay, man. That's too bad.
All right, moving on. We're going to reveal everyone's Eastern and Western Conference standings at the end of the season, and then after the end of that, we'll reveal the NBA Finals. So start off with Newton. We're not going to list every team, but I'm very intrigued about one of these. The Brooklyn Nets getting fourth with no KD. I know you're a big Kyrie fan. I've seen you do layups. You like to do where Kyrie doesn't do like the weird spin, so it goes off the backboard perfectly into the basket. Why'd you put Brooklyn so high at number 4 without their best player in Kevin Durant?
I just feel like between Kyrie and DeAndre Jordan, they're just gonna be like really work well together. Even though people say Kyrie doesn't have good leadership, I just feel like Kyrie was since he's on like a new team, new place, he's just gonna develop that leadership a little bit more and like yeah.
All right, so also you have at the number 8 seed in the Western Conference, the Dallas Mavericks with Doncic and Porzingis. Porzingis coming back from injury. They also have Tim Hardaway's son. I believe his name's Tim Hardaway Jr., just making sure. You have them at 8 making the playoffs. Do you think that they can give the Los Angeles Clippers a run for their money if these two teams do make the playoffs and face each other?
I do think they can give them a run for money just because they have such young talent as in Luka and Porzingis coming off an injury.
Okay.
And like I feel like Porzingis will go back to where like how well he was playing, even though the Clippers do have a lot of big name stars. I just feel like they can give them a run for their money.
Okay, so go ahead and slide that mic over to Joe as we reveal his. All right, for Joe, I already told you what I'm going to ask you about.
All right.
You're wearing the jersey, and it stands out to me. The Chicago Bulls, who has not made the playoffs in, 2 or 3 years now?
4 years.
4 years,
Mm-hmm.
going 5th seed in next year's playoffs over the Nets, the Heat, and the Pistons. Joe, why are the Chicago Bulls 5th on your list?
Let's look at the rosters, all right?
All right.
Starting Bulls rotation. First 5 guys. First off, underrated. Look at the GM votings. Thomas Sadorinsky was one of the better pickups of the offseason.
Okay.
It was voted, and GMs thinks it was one of the most underrated pickups. He is a great point guard. And shooting guard, Zach LaVine, watch out for this dude. This dude is going to be unstoppable this year. He is one of the most athletic dudes I've seen in a Chicago Bulls uniform since Derrick Rose in his prime. Small forward, Otto Porter Jr. can do everything. 3-and-D player, which the Bulls have looked for a long time. Perfect fit for this offense. Lauri Markkanen.
I love Laurie. I love him.
Can do everything. He got even stronger this offseason, so he can play in the paint now. Strong ball. He can shoot the 3 and play inside now. And then Wendell Carter Jr. is a great defensive player, can step out if you need to and hit a 3, but is great in the post too. And then for the first time since that 2012 season when we had the bench mob, as Stacey King would call it, we have a great bench too, led by Thaddeus Young, who we picked up from the Pacers. I really like that move a lot.
I did too.
He's a great veteran leadership coming off that second unit. And then you have the youngster Kobe White, who I talked about earlier, who's going to be learning from both Thomas Sadorinsky and Chris Dunn. And then you have Daniel Gafford. You have Cornette, who is another good pickup from the Knicks, who's another guy who can step up and hit threes.
We also have the heart and soul of the Chicago Bulls himself, Ryan Arcidiacono.
Yeah, and you have Hutchinson, Valentine, and you have multiple guys that you can come off the bench with. And and Boylan talked about it today too, that Chris Dunn just has this energy with the second unit. I did not like Chris Dunn as a starter, but I do actually like him coming off the bench because he's a great defender, and he just gives energy to a second unit. So I just think overall roster-wise, it's better than those last 3 teams because you look at the Nets. Okay, without KD, if they have KD, different story. I probably flip them up into my 4 spot even, but without KD, you have Kyrie and a couple other guys.
What do you think about DJ?
Chris LeVert, DJ, a couple other guys, whereas the Bulls have many.
Well, I know I asked you this when I saw your list. I said we talk about how we're entering a new era of duos, Paul George and Kawhi, and with the Clippers, LeBron and Anthony Davis and the Lakers. But no one is talking about the duo in Chicago, Zach LaVine and Markkanen.
Yeah, no one's talking about him because this is going to be the year that people start talking about him. LaVine in his preseason, but still, in his 34-minute averaged 34-point-something points per game. The dude, no one's stopping him this year. And he even talked about his defense. He's tired of people talking crap about his defense.
And you're making that PG for us. That's a good thing.
The dude's too athletic not to play good defense. He's worked on his defense. His defense will be better this year. Watch out for the Bulls.
All right, we'll move away from the Bulls, and I'm going to go with your 8th seed in the Western Conference, New Orleans Pelicans. Do you think with the new young core they got with Lonzo, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, Zion Williamson, that they can really put a team together and make a playoff run in the Western Conference?
If healthy.
If healthy, yeah. That's a good point.
If they all stay healthy, they're the 8th seed. I can guarantee it because I can just see all those young guys in a small town like that where not New Orleans isn't small, but smaller market like that where all the eyes aren't on them. They're gonna have that mentality of like let's make something out of this. And they do have veterans on the team like JJ Redick who've been
right.
before.
He's been he actually I remember he told Zion this. And all the 13 years he's been in the NBA, he's made the playoffs. And he's like, don't mess this up for me. Except that's also PG because he dropped something else in there. I'm not allowed to even think about while I'm on podcast. But what you say, I like the Pelicans. I do also like the Mavericks. We're going to move on.
Stay healthy, though.
They have to stay healthy, yeah. That's what it comes down to with any of these teams in the Western Conference. If your star goes down, there's a very good chance you won't make the playoffs. We're going to move over to Jared's. I like Jared's. I really do. But number 5, the Atlanta Hawks. That's a good one. No one really talked about them. They have a nice young core coming up. You put the Magic at 8. Lakers over Clippers, that's a switch. Golden State getting really high at 3rd. Pelicans at 5. That really shocks me too. So yeah, he's a little bit different thinking than we do. And this is a guy that plays D3 basketball. So maybe he knows something that we don't with these guys.
Yeah.
So we'll have to see how his plays out. I wish he was here to defend it because I have asked him a lot of questions. But I do love the list, Jared, whenever you listen to this. We're going to go over to mine. And you know what? I want Joe to interrogate me. I already know what he's going to say.
You're a Bulls fan and you didn't put him in.
I didn't put the Bulls in. I'm sorry.
Give me a reasoning why.
I didn't. I think they're too young.
Raptors?
I think they're too. They still have a good core.
Siakam and Lowry.
Siakam, Lowry,
have.
Serge Ibaka. They still have Marc Gasol. They have a good team still. Nick Nurse is a good
You
coach.
think those old guys can be our young?
Don't forget about Fred VanVleet too.
Congrats, Fred VanVleet.
They have a more veteran core than the Bulls do.
No.
I'm sorry.
You think the Magic are gonna make it over?
I would put Markelle as my most improved player with a team that made the playoffs last year.
That mild, we'll see around playoff time.
I'm not going against the Bulls. Like I
are,
want them to win, but this is my I have to go with my brain and not my heart. I'm sorry. I love the Bulls to death.
I don't know.
Hey, what about the Spurs at the 8th seed?
Okay. Greg Popovich, DeMar DeRozan, LaMarcus Aldridge. What other evidence do you need? That this team last year was overlooked and still made the playoffs. They made a good push because DeRozan developed a good 3-point jump shot, and Greg Popovich, who's arguably the greatest coach of all time.
Phil Jackson.
Okay, I said arguably, because they won a lot of games. They won that hot streak in January or February, right before the playoffs started, and I think that Popovich is still going to be able to develop these guys. They're getting Murray back. He was injured all last year, and they still won a lot of games.
Nuggets at the 3 instead of the Rockets at the 5.
Nuggets were number 1 last year.
That's true.
Why
but
the Rockets at the 5 though?
I really don't
you don't
think.
think they're gonna gel?
No, I don't think they're going to gel as we think. And Gerald Green got hurt. And Gerald Green is the heart and soul of the team. And, James Harden does very well with the ball in his hand, but also does Russell Westbrook. So how are they? I've never seen those guys move off the ball too often. So I don't know how good of off the ball they're going to be. I know James Harden used to be a swing man with OKC, but his game has evolved to getting fouled and getting to the free throw line. That's where he makes his living. That's how he's able to get over 30 points a season consistently. It's not because, he's still a great scorer and he travels a lot, but he makes his living at the free throw line. That's how he gets hot. That's how he gets through his jumpers. Like, he sees some go in. He goes, all right, well, now I can make one a little bit deeper behind the arc, and he's going to go off. But I just don't know with the big personalities of Russell Westbrook and James Harden. Like, I know with Kawhi, who doesn't really have a big personality, and Paul George, who really don't, and the Clippers, they're going to gel.
Yeah.
LeBron and AD are gelling. I'm not sure about James Harden and Russell Westbrook.
I'm not sure about you not having the Bulls in your list.
Dear Lord, I'm not going to be able to hear the end of that.
No,
even if they make the playoffs,
if they make the playoffs, I'm going in on you.
He's going to make sure that I never wear another Bulls jersey if they make the playoffs.
Magic.
All right, so now
Magic.
I'm going to move on before Joe kills me on air for not putting the Bulls on here. We're going to move on to NBA Finals predictions and the champions. And Joe, you and I did pick the same team.
All right. The Bulls, baby.
Not for the NBA champions. But first is Newton. Newton's is very interesting. I like Newton's, but it kind of disagreed with what I just said. He picked the Houston Rockets to win the NBA championship over the Milwaukee Bucks, and they have James Harden with the Finals MVP. So
I just feel like back when they were in the Harden and Russell Westbrook back OKC, they just gelled really well.
Don't forget about KD on that big three.
True, but then KD joined them. But before KD was there, they were gelling really well.
Right.
Yeah, I just feel like they still have that chemistry, and even though they're both great scorers, they're gonna whenever each other drive, they're just gonna create for the other person.
Okay.
And so I just feel like that. Yeah,
All right.
They're just gonna be.
So I also have to ask, you really think the Milwaukee Bucks can get past the Philadelphia 76ers
Yes.
in the Eastern Conference? Even though Ben Simmons finally gets a three-point jump shot, they went out and get Al Horford to go with the Twin Towers down low between him and Joel Embiid, who both can also shoot three-pointers. You really think that Giannis can beat that team by himself almost with Chris Middleton, Eric Bledsoe?
Yes.
Okay. Joe's shaking his head.
No.
So I'm going to move down to Joe's. Joe picked the Los Angeles Clippers versus the Philadelphia 76ers, and he picked Kawhi to win Finals MVP again. So, Joe, I have to ask, why the Clippers? I have to hear, because I also picked the same team as you see down here. I picked the same one, but I have to see your reasoning and see if ours are very similar.
I literally think that defense is going to be suffocating to everybody.
And we agree.
That defense, okay, Anthony Davis can be your defender. I don't think LeBron's that good a defender. Come at me if you want, but
Lakers also do have Avery Bradley, one of the best perimeter defenders in the league.
But you have Kawhi, Paul George, and Pat Bev, that's three guys that are just going to suffocate whoever has the ball. And they have a good offense. I just don't think anybody's going to beat that team. I don't. And Kawhi has experience winning it now.
So why'd you go with Philadelphia as your Eastern Conference champions?
I just think they have more. I think they have more than the Bucks. I do, because like you mentioned, Giannis would have to beat him by himself. Where Joel has Ben, Horford. I like who they got in the trade from the Heat. Richardson.
For the Clippers?
No, from the Heat they got.
Josh Richardson.
I like that kid a lot.
That was the Jimmy Butler trade, the sign and deal.
I think Butler was too big of a star to fit with them, but I think Richardson will fit in perfectly with them. So I just think they just have way more than the Bucks do, and like you mentioned before, how mad Giannis was when he lost. If you watch Joel's face,
my Lord,
Kawhi hit that shot over them, he was like crying. And that dude wants to get to the next level.
Yeah, let's just talk about how that team took the defending NBA champion Toronto Raptors to a Game 7. It came down to the final shot, and I don't even know how to describe that shot. That I watched it happen. It was insane. Like, I've never seen anything like that happen before on a buzzer beater.
My dad were like, oh my God. And then Embiid's crying. It's like, that dude's not forgetting that shot.
But I think Joe's right here. I agree with what he said. You take out Jimmy Butler, which I love Jimmy to death. I know we both do, but he's a problem in the locker room sometimes. Yeah. If he does not agree, he will be very vocal. But you add Al Horford, and then you also add Richardson, like you said, And then they re-signed Tobias Harris, who is one of the most underrated
like him a
three-point
lot.
shooters in the league. How this team is going to be dangerous
Yeah, they will. They're gonna be hard to stop.
if they can stay healthy. That's the thing.
Yeah,
We've seen
healthy.
all these guys
That's
go
the thing
down.
for everyone.
It's
That's-
the NBA. You never know
yeah.
what's gonna happen.
Joel went down a lot. Ben Simmons, you don't know with this team. We'll have to see though. I'm very excited to see Philadelphia. I talked to Jared about this because I gave him crap for picking the Lakers. I think everyone in this room can agree that they despise the Lakers in some way, shape, or form. They're kind of like the New York Yankees of basketball. But he said, I'm picking the Lakers and because they have LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and they also got Danny Green, who's a great three-point shooter. He said LeBron James is going to just go off because he didn't like how last year ended. He finally got the start that he needs, that the Lakers are going to step up and go win a championship and time Boston for most championships in a franchise.
Also,
Does that say the Indiana Pacers
It-
in the
it-
championship? No, that is not happening. Give me your reasoning behind that, because we just talked about how unstoppable the
Okay.
Sixers are going to
All right,
be.
you want my honest opinion?
Yes.
Indiana, number one defense in the NBA last year.
Okay.
They lost out on Victor Oladipo for the final stretch of the season for the last 20, 30 games. He was by far the best star in their player. But Nate McMillan, such a good coach, they still stayed up there, even though they were still catching up with Philadelphia. They were up there with Milwaukee for our longest time. They are a lethal team. They also went out and they got T.J. Warren. Scoring Warren, they call him, for a good reason. The guy averaged over, I believe, over 17 points last year with the Phoenix Suns, a terrible basketball team, let's be honest here. We have not talked about the Suns the entire time.
no one likes the Suns.
And I feel bad because Devin Booker is a star. But they also went out and they got Malcolm Brogdon. If it stay healthy, is a great point guard. This guy was a former Rookie of the Year. I believe he was drafted in the second round, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or was it towards the end of the first? I know it was late
it was one of
first,
those
early
two.
second, somewhere in that. But he's a great player. And then you also have Jeremy Lamb, who comes off the bench and also a walking bucket. And let's never forget Miles Turner down low as a center. He is a rim protector, and he's just a bully in the paint. And they also have one of the best six-man in the league in Domantas Sabonis, who they got from OKC in the trade for Paul George. He is a very good player. So I know it's like, okay, we have the glitz and glam of Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid in Philadelphia. We have, who else did we put on here? Giannis, the MVP in Milwaukee.
Even the Celtics.
They have Kemba in Boston now with
Jason and
right, and then Bradley Stevens as their coach. I just think that the Indiana Pacers are a team that we're overlooking. That's a team we're not talking
I'm
about.
not overlooking them because I put them as my 4 seed, but I don't see them beating a team like the Sixers after what we just talked about of how close Embiid was. I don't think they beat.
I just think the Indiana Pacers have a better overall roster than most of the teams we talked about. I think they have a better roster than the Bucks do. I just think the Bucks have.
I'll agree with that.
Right.
I don't think they have a better roster than the Sixers do, though.
I think that they're gonna fight. They're gonna fight for every tooth and nail, though. That's the thing about this team. You don't watch the Philadelphia 76ers and tell me that they're out there fighting. Those guys are trying to prevent injuries. This Indiana Pacers team have nothing to lose. These are guys that have been overlooked their entire career, and now they're getting a chance. Look at Victor Oladipo in Orlando. He was there for like a year and a half. They traded him to OKC. He became the second. He got injured. Then he got traded to Indiana. It was like, oh well, I guess he's done. This is the guy that got drafted by Anthony Bennett. This draft is garbage. Victor Oladipo was one of the best players in the last 2 years. And so the fact that he did not win Most Improved Player 2 years ago was garbage. I don't know how he did not win that. I was so upset. Man, I love IU basketball. But when I watched him, I was like, this guy's a star. And he's proven it in Indiana. I'm telling you, he's the heart and soul of this team.
I'm not. They're gonna be a good team, but I just don't. I think the Celtics even have a better roster than they do.
I don't think the Celtics have
Starting
better.
5, I think they do.
No, I'm sorry.
Kemba, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum,
I-
Gordon Hayward.
I'm going to say on air, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are overrated. I'm sorry. They just are.
think so.
They just are. And also the problem with the Celtics is they don't have any big men. They have Enes Kanter. Okay, they have Enes Kanter as their starting
I
center.
agree with that, but I don't think they're getting past the Sixers team in the Eastern Conference.
I think when the season comes around, the Indiana Pacers, if they can stay healthy, is going to be the team that people are going to be like, where did this come from?
I will agree they'll be a good team.
They're gonna win- they're gonna win over
Think
50
they're gonna
games.
get to the finals?
I think so.
I don't.
I think they can. I really think they can. I'm holding out for it. But obviously, I picked the Clippers. I have to agree with Joe. I think one of the best memes when Kawhi and Paul George went to the Clippers was when you are getting guarded by Kawhi and you get a screen, and then Paul George switches on you, so you call for another screen, and then Patrick Beverley comes on you, and it's a picture of LeBron James doing like the question mark look like. So like that's my thing. Like the defense is going to be unstoppable. Montrez, Beverly, and I love the intensity of this basketball team. They showed it last year against Golden State. Golden State only won because they're a better basketball team. But you know what? At the end of the day, the team that wants it more is going to win, and that's why the Clippers are going to win. And now you have Kawhi Leonard, who has not one but 2 rings, and somehow destroyed the Golden State Warriors dynasty as we know it, coming to LA. And he's going to be stepping up. He's going to bring the winning mentality. And also Paul George. I think we forget about him winning a lot in Indiana. Took him to the 2 straight Eastern Conference Finals and battled with the Miami Heat. They had the big 3 at the time with LeBron. They also had D. Wade and Chris Bosh. They went to Game 7, I think, both times, right?
I know for sure once.
But they both know how to win basketball games, and that's what's going to make them scary. When Paul George comes back from his double shoulder surgery, the Los Angeles Clippers are going to take off, and I think they're going to win over 60 games, and they're going to go through the Western Conference playoffs. The only team that they're going to have trouble with could be the Lakers, but we'll have to see because I think Joe said it. They have a better overall roster than they do. It's a team that wants it more. They're going to walk away with the first ever Larry O'Brien trophy. If I had it, I forgot it in my room. My Clippers hat, I'd put it on, but I forgot it, and I'm disappointed in myself.
One team to watch out for in the West, actually, is if they're healthy, like we've said over and over, healthy, is the Trailblazers. Because do you remember how dominant Hassan Whiteside used to be?
Oh, I remember. I
healthy.
remember he got that triple-double against the Bulls, and they asked him about it, and he goes, "Yeah, I just want to get my 2K rating up."
Yeah.
But he's a monster.
And
it's just
they've always needed they're like always one big man away. And
right.
Now
They did have your kick, but he got injured. He's out for the whole year because of the way he landed on his. That was gruesome. Yeah. But they have Lillard, CJ, and then they got the guy from Cleveland. I'm blanking on his name. He stepped up in the playoffs for them last year. He's a small forward.
Yeah.
Rodney Hood.
Yeah.
Rodney Hood at the 3, and then Hassan Whiteside at the 5. I'm not sure who their 4 is on the top of my head. Yeah. But that's a very good team. They made the Western Conference Finals last year. The only reason why they got beat because Golden State had the better roster. Yep. They had the better roster. But this year, I think we can almost write off Golden State with no Klay Thompson, no Kevin Durant. The only big signing that they got, they got D'Lo. They had D'Lo, but D'Lo's not Klay. Yeah. And he does better with the ball in his hand. The good thing Steph's good off the ball. Yeah. But they also don't have it's not KD. There's no KD. And they also got Willie Cauley-Stein. He's very good. He's very underrated because he played in Sacramento for so long. But I think Golden State doesn't have the roster that's good enough to go to the NBA Finals. And I think the way it started their preseason with Steph Curry airballing it was a pull-up 3-pointer from deep, not even close, in the very first shot in the new stadium. But I do have to ask this. I don't have the ping-pong paddles, but very nice or that's going to be a no for me, dog. Did you guys see what Buddy Hield said about Sacramento?
No. Yeah, didn't he say, like, it's bullcrap that he's not getting paid and that no free agent is coming here or something like that?
He said, name one big free agent that has come to Sacramento, and then he said, if they want to offer me the money I want, which is $110 million, they offered him a $90 million contract, I will go somewhere else that wants to pay me that type of money. What do you guys think? Very nice, great success, or that's going to be a no for me, dog? Yeah, thank you. You don't say that to a team that wants to pay you. It's just how it works.
That just like you just basically screwed your season because that's what everyone's going to talk about.
You know, I actually had Sacramento making the playoffs originally. They're like, but now they're my first team out because Buddy Hield saying that. I was like, there's no way.
No, you just screwed up. It just showed that you don't care about the team.
No, and this guy that's only had one good year. He averaged 20 points last year, and I really like the Kings. I was like, okay, well they fired the new coach. Bagley, the De'Aaron Fox, who's on the most improved player list, who's a stud, and then a lot of NBA GMs said that's the guy to watch out for this coming season. Buddy Hield, and then Bogdanovich, stud.
You can't say that. You just can't say that.
You can't say it. You just can't. All right, so obviously this is the last thing we have on our show, so I'm going to give this mic back to Joe. Joe, go ahead and give that back to Newton. So any final thoughts before we wrap it up on the NBA preview show?
First off, I want to thank you for having us on, Miles. This is awesome. It's awesome. Second off, I'm mad at you for not putting the Bulls on your list. Third off, go Bulls.
Again, thanks for having me on here. Don't know about the Indiana Pacers making the finals. Yeah,
that ain't happening.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
You got to make the show interesting, okay? You can't pick this. You can't pick the same teams. Come on.
But yeah, Houston Rockets, baby.
Houston Rockets. All right. My final thoughts is I'm excited that the NBA season is finally on its way on Tuesday with the Rockets taking on the Pelicans and the Clippers and the Lakers battling each other out.
Best time of year.
This is the best time of year. The world,
Baseball, football, basketball,
and
hockey.
Yeah, college football. The World Series coming up close. If the Astros win tonight, which I don't think they're winning at the moment.
They're down 4-1.
Did we have a final score on that, John?
John, that's another thing. Thank Johnny. Man.
Yeah, thank John. Yeah.
Gallatin, thank you.
What a guy. He's
Video guy back there.
You can't see him because if we put the camera on him, it would probably break. But we still love him. We still love him. We need a final score on the
Yankees 4, Astros 1.
final score.
Yes, sir.
So there will be a Game 6 in Houston as of right now.
With Cole.
Right, with Garrett Cole. So the World Series will be starting. The Nationals already punched a ticket to the World Series. The NBA starting on Tuesday. The NFL's in full swing. Hockey started. I believe the Blackhawks were winning.
Yeah.
College football, they're getting like towards the end of their season too. Like they're in the dead middle of it. We're trying to figure out which teams are the top ones and then who's really the Heisman candidates. But this is why we're having part 2 just on audio tomorrow. It will just be me on here. But so thank you for joining the Spartan Sports Talk Show episode 3. If you want to join the show like these two gentlemen did, email me at ammild2022@manchester.edu. We want to get you on the show, get your thoughts out there, what you think about what's going on with the next season. But other than that, thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Spartan Sports Talk Show.